Yeah, I got the plan, I got the fam, I got the keys, I get to work. I am the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first. Yeah, whew, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm right around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drummer, that's word to my mama, I'll cover you up like a tombstone.
Tonight, we take on a piece of history as we continue to dwindle it down to a champion. Welcome to coverage of the Sunday Night NASCAR and the Davis Brothers Roofing Cup Series live from the virtual Rockingham Speedway right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Happy to have you join us here as we continue to move through the round of 8 as we move closer and closer to a champion. My name is Charlie Baier. Welcome alongside by Francisco Bacallao. And Francisco, this track is historic and tough to say the least, especially with its old surface and how abrasive it is, how hard it is on equipment, and how easy it is to make a mistake here. What's really going to be the biggest expectation in your eyes tonight?
Thanks for having me on here, Charlie. And yes, this is the second race in the round of 8, so we are getting closer to the dwindling moments of the season and determine who is going to be fighting for a championship. And we are at a very historic racetrack in Rockingham. And this racetrack has been known for some high-speed action, last seen in the Cup Series in 2004, last seen in the Truck Series in 2013. And this racetrack has produced some great racing, high-banked corners for a racetrack that's about a mile in distance, and a lot of tire wear can occur here. As you mentioned, the very old surface can produce some tire-saving strategies, different grooves. You can go all the way from the bottom to about the middle of the racetrack, and we've had many historic moments. So let's see who here tonight is able to make some moves. As of right now on the qualifying timesheets, it looks like Tim Tobridge is currently on the pole position with Biesinger, one of the Biesingers, in second place, and Randy Spivey in that third spot. So we'll have to see how everything cycles out. A key guy that we've seen up front in Ryan Samuelson does not appear to be in the entry list tonight, so we'll have to see who's able to step into his place and be a contender.
Yeah, and this track can be very, very deceiving with those very high banked corners, almost 30 to 35 degrees in the banking. And while we're at it, we might as well take a look at where we are in the world and staged in Rockingham, North Carolina, this 1 mile racetrack with those very, very deceiving corners all the way down there. A bit of a D-shaped oval with very high banked corners, very tight turns, very, very tough on equipment as that has been presented in real life. And this track is shut down, which means iRacing was able to get a scan of it and put it in their service, which really leads to the historic factor in being able to jump on in the iRacing service and being able to turn laps here. It's really one of the wonders of the iRacing service.
Yeah, we've seen in the real life side of things, Rockingham Speedway has tried to renovate their circuit to try and hopefully get a date on one of NASCAR's top 3 series back. I believe one of the lower tier series tried to go there either last year or the year before. I don't recall which one specifically. If you can have that information to correct me. But this racetrack, it'd be fun to go back to with the proper renovations to be able to make a true run once again, as this is a great racetrack, I feel.
Qualifying just about to wrap up. Looks like Tim Trowbridge in that number 74 will take the pole, and to his outside, Chad Biesinger. We'll get to your starting lineup in a bit, but we're about to go racing here on this 1 mile racetrack. Opened in 1965, once again staged in Rockingham, North Carolina. Qualifying just wrapping up here, and we'll get to your starting lineup in a little bit. And as the guys start to grid up, we'll give you your starting lineup just momentarily. But Francisco, I know we both have experience on the iRacing service, and we know we both turned laps here prior to this race. And, you know, based on your experiences here, what's really going to be the biggest factor or really strategy coming into this long race tonight? And will it be saving tires, maybe aggressiveness, attacking these corners a different way? What's really going to be the strategy?
Tire saving is going to be crucial. It's an old surface, so it'll definitely eat into the tires. And the first thing that surprised me when I first turned laps here was just how fast you're going in the corners. Despite the cup package, they're running the small spoiler here, and it just surprised me how fast you were actually able to go in these corners. You're going almost 170, 180 miles an hour going into turn number 1. I don't think anybody would expect the cars to be going that quick into turn number 1, but that's the case. And, you know, slamming down into the corner, even with the high bankings at that speed, it's really going to put some pressure on that right front tire. So managing the car as best as you can, driving it as elegant as you can to be able to ease the pressure on those right side tires and just try and keep the temperatures down is going to be crucial to saving tires. And of course, when you save tires, that's going to help out in the long run. And historically in this series, we've seen lots of long runs. So whoever can save tires best is most likely going to edge their way to the front.
All right, well, cars starting to grid up on the grid right now. We'll give you your starting lineup momentarily, but on the pole, the 74 of Tim Trowbridge will be on the pole, starting first on the inside line. To his outside, the 23 of Chad Biesinger. Class of the season, that number 23 car starts second.
Moving back on to the second row of the grid, we have Randy Spivey in that third position, followed by the 93 of William Fink.
Third row sees Charles Eaton, that number 75 car, starting on the inside. To his outside, Barrett Kofi, the number 4 car.
Back to the lower side of the top 10, we see Chad Sainer in that 59, starting 7th, alongside Joshua Johnson in that 57.
And rounding out your top 10, the 8 of T.W. Garrett in that 9th position. To his outside, the 9 of Jeff Carson, starting 10th.
For the first positions outside of the top 10, you have Dalton Mobley in that number 77, alongside Mark Figueroa in that 88.
Starting in 13th on row number 7, Matt Gaskins. And to his outside, Kevin Rourke. And the 99 car will shuffle through the cars who made laps. The last laps in the qualifying, as we are about to go green lights off on the pace car. And we're about to complete 97 laps on this 1 mile racetrack. Long night of racing ahead under the daylight in the iRacing service. We're about to set the stage for this long race. Tim Trowbridge will lead the field to the green flag as the pace car prepares to dive off. And the pace car is off. Green flag just about to wave. We are racing at the historic Rockingham Raceway, one of the most historic tracks on the schedule. We're green.
A bit of a stack up on that outside lane at the start, but I'm pretty sure everyone's just trying to take it easy these opening laps. So, as you mentioned, 197 of them, so no reason to get too antsy on this first set of laps. A good start for the drivers up front, a clean start for everybody through the field. 27 drivers here tonight and on their way to lead the first lap of the race. It's going to be that 22 of Randy Spivey, who started in that third position, so great start by him.
Able to take the lead on lap number 1, and a lot of guys running very, very conservatively because they know how crucial it is to not make a mistake here, especially that apron. It's such a cutoff to that apron, and it's such a difference in banking that it can spin your car right around if you even get a fender below it. But Randy Spivey proving that he's put in the practice laps, and he's currently pulling out to over a second league over Chad Biesinger.
Looking back on this battle for second, 3 cars in there with Tim Trowbridge, a pole sitter, and Chad Biesinger, who started outside of him. These 3 cars are battling for that second spot. Not exactly close to one another, but not that great of an exit for Biesinger there, or the car behind him, excuse me, as we have a battle for 4th. The 59 is going to try and slide up in front of that 75 and going to take that position out of turn number 2.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes this track different from others is the passing. It's almost like a one-lane racetrack that's heavily influenced by the iRacing tire and surface model, but it is almost like a one-lane racetrack, and the way you really get around people is by just sticking your nose just barely to the inside and pushing them up the racetrack. That's how you make a pass, but it's really, really tough to maintain that inside line when you get into the corners, especially with that hard braking. Randy Spivey Chad Biesinger, I've seen that a couple times, getting loose off of turn number 2.
Off of turn number 2, Dalton Mobley and Joshua Johnson had a moment almost simultaneously. It looked like it was one of those twin moments. They both got very loose off the corner last time by in those sets of corners. So a lot of people trying to figure out how to go about this racetrack. It's proven to be very slick. The track conditions are very hot. They actually got one car hard to the inside wall, and he backed up across the racetrack.
That's Charles Eaton. That 75 car got loose off of the corner, went up the racetrack, and more contact ahead. Up to the front of the field. That takes contenders out very, very early. The 75 parks it early. We're going to get a replay of that one. That was, wow.
Look like those. He just got loose off turn number 2, slams the inside wall, and then unfortunately comes back across the racetrack into Dalton Mobley and has nowhere to go. Then somebody here runs into the back of Dalton Mobley. A little bit of light damage, but nonetheless, a little bit of contact there after the wreck. So only 2 main drivers involved in this incident. Could have easily been a lot more, but unfortunate for both of those guys early on.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate so early on. And we'll get an in-car cam here, and yeah, we'll talk about it throughout the night. We'll see it time and time again off of that turn 2. The car just snaps up, and it's such a odd banking transition compared to other racetracks on the NASCAR schedule that it's kind of hard to get used to for some of these guys. So yeah, wreck that just kind of took out drivers early.
Yeah, that was actually Matthew Gaskins who kind of got into the back of Dalton Mobley there. Light damage on his car. I don't believe it's going to necessarily affect his race, but it is something to look at as that happened, trying to avoid the wreck. And that was a close call for the 57 of Joshua Johnson. He ended up splitting those 2 guys in the middle, so a good wreck avoidance by him to miss one here early on.
All right, well, under our first caution of the night. And just a reminder for everyone down in the YouTube chat that if you want to ask a question to us, you can use hashtag AskKBRN, ask any question within appropriate reasoning, and we'll be sure to answer any question about the race, about the series, about our racing network, or about us. Again, within appropriate reason, we'll be happy to answer them in the chat. But on to the first caution on lap number 8, first of likely many, especially with this abrasive track surface. But a lot of these guys doing a good job so far, keeping their cars clean.
Yeah, it's very hard to race at this racetrack, and it's not a racetrack that many of these guys probably visit to, so experience is limited compared to most mile-and-a-half racetracks that the NASCAR Cup Series goes to every single year. So it's probably fighting out some people who probably have very little experience compared to even the people who barely drive here, but it's just going to be, it's going to come down to who has experience and who's just able to keep the car under them, as it appears. It's going to be tough.
And I think the track that closely compares to this one in terms of kind of the corners and the transition is probably likely Bristol with that high banking. But on Bristol, you're able to use that high line. In Rockingham, the banking or the track is so wide that kind of eliminates that. But it's kind of a one-of-a-kind racetrack that unfortunately is closed down in real life at the moment.
I believe we're going to get the 1 to green here. And signaling to everybody that we will have 1 lap before we get back racing. See if the lights are out on the pace car, and they are. So we're going to be doubling up here before we go green.
All right, well, green flag will come back out on lap number 11. Randy Spivey, when that number 22 car took the lead on lap number 1 from the 3rd position. Chad Biesinger right behind him. Chad Sanner currently sitting 3rd. Barrett Kofi in 4th. And Joshua Johnson in 5th. And that'll be your top 5 when they come back to the green flag. And we'll hopefully get a longer green flag run. But I'm going to be watching a lot of these guys get loose off of the corner like we saw as the cause of that last wreck.
Somebody early to move up through the field has been Joshua Johnson. He started outside the top 10, I believe, and he's already up to the 5th spot, so he's going to be someone to look out for here. He's been aggressive early, trying to gain spots. Actually started 8th. But he's still gained some pretty decent positions and avoided that last wreck. And here we go. Pace car's going to get ready to make that hard left turn, and we're going to send the field back racing. There they go. The pace car's down. And here we go with this aerial view, and the green flag's back out. Randy Spivey will lead them to the green.
Gets that early jump. That number 59 of Chad Sanner up into the 2nd position. Looks like Chad Biesinger did not get the start that he wanted on that outside line. He's Barrett Kofi taking advantage of that into turn number 3.
It's characteristic of what happened at the start of the race. He did not get going that great on that outside lane, and he's continuing to lose spots, probably trying to work those tires, and it probably takes him a good bit based on that setup he has. Remember, this is an open setup series, so everybody has a different setup probably under the hood to try and help themselves out relative to the most fixed race series that we cover here on this channel, and he has dropped 3 positions from that restart. So not the restart he desired, but another great one for Randy Spivey, who's going to keep the lead. Right now, he's led every single lap in this race so far. Sander's up to that 2nd position, and Kofi's up to 3rd.
Yeah, and it makes such a difference, as you mentioned, with that open setup. and you know it's really contrast, and you're able to make your own adjustments and really find the setup that's right for you. That's what really makes the difference between the iRacing fixed setups and the open setups, is that availability to kind of do your own thing. And a lot of people will enjoy fixed setups more because of the even competition, but a lot of guys will try to find or enjoy finding setups that fit them the best, and like prefer open setup racing. But it's really kind of a 50-50 between the iRacing service based on what I've seen.
Yeah, these open setups, it allows a third sort of dimension for these drivers. Instead of just tire saving and which steering ratio you run, it really comes down to the driver, those same normal sets that they would run in fixed, and then the setups themselves. Sometimes people are good at building setups for themselves, and it enables them to run better than they normally would with a fixed setup. And that's not necessarily degrading the driver. That's just, it's an ability they have to make adjustments to the car that'll help them run better relative to somebody else who maybe doesn't know exactly what adjustments to make in the car in certain instances. And not only that, but you just kind of have to do it to stay ahead of the racetrack. The track conditions will change as the race goes on. Right now, we have an 86-degree track temperature. That could change well before the race ends, and who knows what it'll be like at the end of the race. And sometimes an adjustment will help before you reach the end of the race that can make your car better.
We take a look at the weather outlook. It is almost 80 degrees, kind of a hot day down here in North Carolina, so that'll definitely add to the slickness of the racetrack, partnered with the abrasive surface that these guys are struggling with. But so far, a lot of guys doing a very, very good job keeping their cars clean off at the corner and kind of using the gas in a way that won't burn up their tires. And I think that's one of the most important parts, is being patient on the gas, especially off the corner.
Yeah, with that wind you saw, about 10 miles an hour, changing ever so slightly every single time, it's really going to kick these cars out. I'm not sure which direction it's blowing from and how general the track is laid out relative to like the cardinal directions, excuse me. So depending on which way the wind is blowing, it could be from corner entry or corner exit. And if the wind is blowing hard enough, it could really make a car loose on one side of the racetrack. So let's say the wind is blowing from the front straightaway to the back straightaway, it'll make your car really loose right here because it's going to be pushing on your left side trying to spin you out. But then right here in turn 4, it's going to be pushing right on you, and it'll give you a little bit of extra grip. So it really comes down to how strong the wind is and where it's blowing from, because that could either help or hurt you.
One of the many factors that go into stock car racing and the many pieces to the puzzle. Not everything's going to be perfect, but you can deal with what you have. But looking at the Ford, Brandon Kofi struggling, or not really struggling, just trying to find a line that'll able him to, you know, even get a fender under the 59 and make a move. But I'm looking at this battle back here. Chad Basinger made his way back to the 4th position, passing Joshua Johnson and J.C. Gibson.
Yeah, I gave it an eye on that battle too. Joshua Johnson was running in that 4th position, but it seems as though he's kind of holding these guys up at this current moment of time. We see that other car get loosed on his inside trying to get by him, and it's really hard to pass here. It's been seeming very hard to pass as the 57 goes way up the racetrack, and here comes that the 20, I don't know the number off the top of my head.
The 27 of J.C. Gibson.
27 then goes right by him for that top 5 position, and that 57 of Joshua Johnson is going to keep dropping some positions. The winner of Indianapolis, the opening round in the playoffs. So J.C. Gibson now up to 5th position after starting in the 15th position. So he's moved up a couple of spots, and he might be someone to look out for as this run continues.
Yeah, I agree. He will be someone to look out for, especially getting 10 spots from the start of this race on a track that's very, very abrasive and very, very hard to pass, running that Titans number 27 car. But a lot of the guys are starting to settle in here, I think, and you see Brandon Kofi makes the move for the 2nd position.
Yeah, he makes a move for that 2nd position, and he's going to, actually, that's Randy Spivey, I believe, who's dropped from the lead down to 3rd. So I wonder what's happened. If he pushed the car too hard early in the run, or is this just something that he's intentionally doing, which I can't imagine what will be going on as he actually taps the wall down the back straightaway.
Strikes the wall. It could be a sign of struggling for that number 22 car. We'll pull up a replay and see if there's anything that happened, because he did lose almost 2 positions. Or he did lose 2 positions for that matter.
He had a sizable lead over these two, and then suddenly, in a span of about 2 or 3 laps, they just ran him down and got by him at ease. So while we were watching that battle for 4th and 5th, I wonder what may have happened. He's just running all the way up in the high side, and there's no real grip up there. And easily, the 59 is going to go past him, and the 4 has some momentum and is able to take advantage of the pieces here and get by him in 3 and 4.
Now down to 4th, gonna get passed for 5th by JC Gibson. So a promising lead goes away as he's now looking on the edge of the top 5, but Chad Sander on that number 59 assumes the race lead, just a second, almost second and 2/10 over Barrett Kofi.
And you have to wonder, did he push too hard? He was opening up a lead very aggressively these last 2 runs, so you have to wonder maybe he used up his tires a little bit, and that's probably what's causing him to drop back, because he's already fallen. He has a good gap back to 6th, but right now at the last spot inside the top 5, this 4 car in the 23. Chad Biesinger trying to come back into that 2nd spot, struggled early in the run, but that could be due to the setup, because ever since about 5-10 laps into that restart, he started to maintain and started being faster than some of these guys. He's ran some quicker lap times now, putting the pressure, trying to look to the inside, maybe take that 2nd position into turn 3. He's not going to take that position yet. He's trying to be patient with that number 4 car, and if you don't look out now, there comes at 27 right behind them, and this could be a 3-way battle for the 2nd spot as Sander keeps pulling away from these 3.
And we got another yellow flag. I was just about to mention Chad Biesinger's Projects, but another yellow flag. That's Mike Contino around on the back straightaway. That might show signs of another car getting loose off the corner, but we'll pull up a replay real quick. But that'll bring out another yellow as we're approaching that number 30.
And that happened right in front of the leaders, so this has been a close call for them. See what happens here. And looks like there may have been contact with somebody else. He seems to be off the pace, so maybe a problem in the works for him. And here we go off turn number 2. Somebody in front of them are wrecking. Whoa, and he flips somebody trying to avoid it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll take another look at this. You see that Mountain Dew car? That's the 32. Brandon Tarnowski just got loose off of the corner, it looks like, and made contact with another driver. That's the 6. And it just looks like the 61 of Mike Contino just tried to take action and unfortunately hooked another driver in the process. So an unfortunate incident.
Yeah, it looked like most of this wreck was due to trying to avoid that 32 that was going back into the wall. The 32 did not end up wrecking, but the rest of these drivers trying to avoid him did. So it's a shame.
Another wreck, collecting a lot more cars than the first yellow that came out on lap number 8. We just passed the lap 31 mark. I expect a lot of guys to come down pit road onto this yellow.
Right now it looks like they're still on the racetrack. I'm not sure. Pit road was not open just yet. We'll have to see this time by as they come close to that pit entry. I'm not exactly sure what the fuel window for the race is. It is a 75% fuel fill, but I'm not exactly sure what the normal Rockingham fuel mileage would be for the Cup cars, as I haven't covered any races at Rockingham to really be able to give that information accurately at least. So apologies on that front, but we'll see if these guys come down pit road. No indications of that, so maybe it is a longer fuel window than we expect, and we may see these guys try to hold on and maybe take it. Maybe they have a tire set limit that I'm not aware of at least, and they're trying to conserve it early.
All right, well, we do have a hashtag AskKeyRun in the YouTube chat asking for a good luck to the number 88 of Mark Figueroa from his friends on the West Coast. Well, good luck, Mark, in that number 88, currently sitting outside of the top 5 in the 6th position. Started 12th, gained 6 positions, so making some pretty good progress on the field right now as we only passed the lap 32 mark. The only way is up from here.
I got my eye on that driver in that 3rd position of Gibson in the 27. He started in 15th, and he's already in that top 3, so he's made some good moves, and he seems to have that long run speed, and we could see him challenge the 59 of Chad Sander on this restart.
Another one of the drivers I'm looking at is that 22 of Randy Spivey, who had the lead for a good bit in the early portion of the race, but lost and dropped to the edge of the top 5. But looks like he just got 1 position back, currently sitting 4th. But I'm I'm interested to see his progress, to see if he will make a rebound throughout the rest of this race.
Yeah, it's still early on. Lap 32 coming down to lap 33. 197 laps total in this race. So it's just the baby stages of the race. We're still figuring out how the progression of this race is going to go. As I believe they got the 1 to green, we will double up. And the next time the pace car comes off of turn number 4, it will turn off and we'll send these guys back up to racing speed.
It will indeed pull off the racing surface on this lap. We'll go ahead and try to complete the rest of this portion. But another caution so far, and I think the 2 cautions so far have proved why turn 2 is such a crucial part of the racetrack in, you know, managing your throttle or your throttle control and not trying to spin the car out. We've seen it, really, the 2 cautions during this race so far. So, you know, it's proven its abrasiveness, and I think a lot of guys are getting aware of how dangerous it is.
Yeah, turn 2 is a tricky corner. The banking just goes away immediately, and as the car unloads, it'll just turn away from you. It's nothing like turn number 4. You see turn 4 here is a little bit smoother on the exit, and turn 2 is a lot more abrupt. So catching these guys off guard, maybe something has to do with the wind. We'll have to see as the race continues. The pace car's off. Chad Sainer launches, and he's getting ready to go green flag racing. A lot of tire spin, and there goes the 23 of Chad Biesinger, and he's going to take the lead going into turn number 1.
Takes the lead on lap number 34, but not done yet is Chad Sainer off at the corner. Will they make it through? The 23 has to check up on the high side. That'll hand the lead back to Chad Sainer on the bottom, and JC Gibson will also assume the 3rd position under him.
Trying to go for second, and they're side by side off turn number 4. And looks as though that 27 will take the position as the 23 will concede second to him. And they will run single file through these sets of corners, single file through most of the field for that matter. But a close one there for Chad Sainer, who spun the tires on the restart, but was able to keep the lead through 1 and 2 and is now able to set his own pace once again. But JC Gibson started 15th, and before lap 40 has reached that 2nd spot and is looking to run down the leader.
13 positions gained since the drop of the green flag. Man on a mission is that number 27 car, and only one position to go before he takes the race lead from Chad Sainer in that 59. But Chad's not going to give it up easy. He is getting time on him though. Went from 3/10 of a second to 1.5 on that last lap.
And you can physically see the gap is closing. He continues to cut the gap every single lap, and we may have a battle for the lead here shortly, continuing to close the gap right now on board. And the front bumper, you see he has a great run through turn 2, unable to carry it onto the straightaway, but nonetheless gain time on him. And this is now off the rear bumper of your race leader, Chad Sainer. The gap is about 3 car lengths between the top 2, and here it is as a caution's out on the racetrack.
That's the 11 of Lauren Jones stuck on the apron. On the back straightaway, once again, another backstretch crash. We'll take a replay of that one.
Heavy damage on the front of that car, and it looks as though it was turn number 2 once again. Struck.
Now we'll take a look, but I think I have an idea of what the cause of this one was.
Oh man! Oh whoa! There was contact in front of him, and he just had nowhere to go and head on into the inside wall. You see those 2 made contact in front of him.
Oh
and
my
one of them
goodness!
Just come down. Hard crash. Oh my god.
Yeah, nasty wreck. The Q cars in front of him. That is Steve Dardaris and the 99 of Kevin Rourke. Just off of the corner and kind of ran out of real estate. Oh my goodness! A big hit for the 99 and the 11 there.
It was close quarters racing between the 99 and they made contact, and then there was a bit of net code, which then sent the 99 down the racetrack. You see right there, he was about to, they made contact, then there was a little bit of net code, which then sent the 99 down into that 11 car. So unfortunate situation for those involved. It's just a tough break. See, there's the contact, then there's the net code.
Oh, yeah.
And then off the wall comes the 3 into the 99, and on goes the wreck.
Third caution of the night will bring us to our lap number 40 mark under the yellow flag. Chad Sainer still out front, JC Gibson at second. None of these cars have yet to come down, or all these cars have yet to come down the pit lane and put on a fresh set of 4 Goodyear tires. But that's really going to play a factor in the tire saving game, obviously, as when you get these extensive green flag runs, tires are going to come into play a lot, especially with this abrasive track surface and the length of the race. And it's really going to be hard on these guys to be able to save their tires, especially off of the corners where you want to hit the gas as hard as you can. You want to pin the throttle down, but that can also affect your wheel spin, and in turn, we've seen it multiple times spin you out off the corner.
Yeah, this racetrack is very tough. The banking, the speeds you're going here with the package, you know, you have that small spoiler in the back of the car, so there's not a lot of aerodynamics really pulling the car towards the racetrack off the corner. So when the banking goes away like that, you really start losing the back end because nothing's holding it down. So it's really tough to race out here like this. But then again, these guys are on iRacing. It's very close to what the actual racing surface is like, and some of these guys are probably very, very experienced with the platform, and you know, they're learning every single chance they get, and the better ones are typically able to learn quicker than some of the rest of the guys maybe.
Just waiting to take the green flag once again. Still over 140 laps, sorry, left in the race, and I believe the pace lights have gone off. Yes, they will, and the cars will start to double up. We'll take the green flag back out on lap number 42. Chad Stainer still holds the race lead, but we saw JC Gibson almost put up a fight for it. The man on the mission started 15th all the way up to the second position. Behind them, Mark Figueroa in that number 88 broke into the top 5, or top 4, I should say, on that last green flag run. Another one of those guys who made up a lot of positions since the start of the green flag.
Gibson is lining up second on this restart. Second has not gotten that great of a restart on most of the restarts we've had here tonight, but that every single time that the second place driver has been the 23 of Chad Biesinger. He restarts third this time, so we'll see. Is it the outside or is it the 23? So right now, the 59, Chad Stainer, will lead them back to the green flag like he has the most of his last couple restarts from the 27 of Jason Gibson. Pace car is off, and it's in the hands of the 59. And there he goes, launching on the green flag. A little bit of tire spin, but there comes the 27 with the second phase of the restart. He's going to challenge him down into turn number 1. They will be side by side, and to the race lead goes the 27 to Gibson.
27 takes the race lead from 15th to 1st. Once again, proving that he can make up all that time. Chad Biesinger also moves up into the 3rd position under heat from the 88.
Battling on the restart as we go through the field. Most of these guys knowing that this is the best chance they have at gaining positions as before the field begins to spread out. There, back there behind these two, you see the 57 of Joshua Johnson looking on as this is the top 5 positions. See a battle back there. For 7th, I believe that's Randy Spivey, who's fallen all the way back to the backside of the top 10, continuing the struggle right now. But this is the 9 of Jeff Carson, right behind that 4 as the 48, now trying to look to the inside. That's the battle for 8th.
Looking to tang it, lines it up and shoots it in the corner, and he will take that position. But the lead for JC Gibson has expanded to over half a second, closing with that number 59 making up a bit of time.
Yeah, he's trying not to let him go, but he doesn't want to use his tires in the progress. Also remember that the 23 of Chad Biesinger, it takes him a couple of laps for the tires to warm up before he's able to get going. But the top 3 right now, all separated within about 7/10 of a second from one another. And don't look now, but he could be challenging the 59 here.
Yeah, one of the things I've been noticing with Chad Biesinger is that, you know, it takes a little bit into a green flag run to get him fired up and get him starting to make up positions again. And I think that was really one of the big factors for him when it comes to green flag racing. And we've seen our fair share of longer runs, or at least 1 or 2 this race, but we've also seen some short runs, and we've seen in turn him losing a bit of positions. But if we do get a long green flag run, I believe that he could be able to make a chance for the race lead.
And it's probably a trait of the Biesingers. One of his brothers, Brad Biesinger, who drives the 18 in this series at Atlanta. In the first 100 laps of that race, he drove from starting outside the top 35 to running in 2nd before his engine blew. And that really goes to show just how rhythmic these cars are to drive. And if you can get in the zone, if you actually have a car slow on the racetrack, no caution though. I believe that's the 99 who was involved in that last incident. Slow on the apron. Looks like he will make it back to pit road. But I was saying, some of these guys, they drive very rhythmic. So if you're able to get in a rhythm in a long green flag run, you actually probably drive better than if a restart and give yourself a better chance. But right now, That 23 loses another spot to this 4, who's looking to take second away from the 59. He's going to dive it down the inside, and he will take that spot.
Sends it into the corner, and that number 4 will take over the second position from Chad Sander. Chad Biesinger also loses the position. He's back and forth. Mark Figueroa still hanging out of that top 5 position, so a lot of guys are getting into rhythms, as you mentioned, and getting into a rhythm is just so important in racing, you know, either if you're on a road or an oval. I think we can all agree that once you get into that rhythm, it's almost relaxing in a sense. But we see that 4 of Bear Kofi made his charge all the way up and looking for the race lead.
I wonder if he pitted on one of these last couple pit stops, because the way he just sends it in there and the speed at which he caught these guys was incredible. So I'm not sure if he didn't pit on one of these last cautions. But to the lead goes the 4 of Kofi, and he takes it very easily from the 27, and is already continuing to pull away as we have a massive battle back for third.
Yeah, based on my telemetry, he did pit 19 laps ago. I believe that was under one of our yellow flags, and that new tires, you can see the difference between that new tires, even if it's just 30 laps and on a short track. You can see the difference in new tires and old tires. He's pulling away to a near 2-second lead. Battle for the, third position, sorry, is going on.
Yeah, and that's 30 laps, but it's also 30 laps with 3 cautions, so it's maybe about 15 to 20 laps in terms of green flag racing. But nonetheless, you saw just how powerful it was, which makes me wonder how come these guys didn't pit, unless there is a tire set limit at which these guys have to adhere to. I'm not sure exactly how many sets they do have, if that's the case, but if they do, then that would explain why maybe most of the field has not pitted yet, and maybe somebody further in the back deciding to do a little bit of strategy and try and see if he can work his way up. But the 59, much like the 22 of Randy Spivey, is starting to fall back as the 48 sideways entering turn 1, but will take that position. So the 59 is falling back.
The next car on fresh tires is that 48. He made the position for the 5th position. He pitted about 44 laps ago, so I believe that might have been under the first yellow flag of the race. Making up some positions so far. Mark Figueroa up into the 4th position as well. So Chad Sander, that number 59, has lost a bit of time right now and lost a bit of ground.
Yeah, battles all up and down the racetrack. Up front, at least it's starting to spread out just a tad with old tires and the new tires. People coming, some going. But something that has not changed has been the 27 and 23. They've been consistently in the top 5 for most of this race. There's the 48 starting to catch up to the 88 of Mark Figueroa to try and pass him to that 4th spot, as Kofi now has almost a 3.5-second lead over the top 3 drivers. So he is continuing to pull away and has a tire advantage. So he's hoping for this race to go long enough into a run where everybody has to pit, and if that's the case, that works out perfectly for him, because then he can use the track position as the 11, who was involved in their previous instance, slow to enter pit road, but he will make it, so no caution. Yeah, but if you find yourself further back in the field, you may have to use those tires to pass some cars. And if you pit early, like maybe the 48 did, where you pitted on the first caution, then the tires eventually start to equal out, and they aren't as big of an advantage. The 4 pitted more recently, so he can sort of push his car, and it's still an advantage. You see the 88 had a moment there in the center of the corner and allows the 48 to get by, so move the 48 into the 4th position, now trying to chase after the 27 of Gibson and 23 of Chad Biesinger.
Just goes to show how the tires can make a difference, especially with that pass with the 48 car. But Chad Biesinger has caught up to the number 27 of JC Gibson. This is for the 2nd position. Made up that time and looking to make a shot for a pass here coming up into the next few laps. But we passed lap number 60 of this race. Still a long way to go for some of these guys, and a lot of time to save your tires.
Yeah, this is the longest run of the race as of right now. We've gone about 20 laps, so far, and signs indicate of potential green flag racing continuing. This is the battle for second. It's between these two right now, but don't look now. In about 10 laps time, it could include that 48. So the 27 right now trying to hold off the 23. And the 23, as I previously mentioned, it probably takes him a couple laps to really get going. You see, this is the guy who's on the same strategy with, so he's basically trying to run down the leader of his strategy at least before yellow comes out, and everybody would have to pit again. So the 23 trying to look to the inside, maybe set himself up for turn number 1. He's not going to quite get there. You see him let off before the corner to try and have a better turn, see what he can do for the next set of corners, but nothing there to pass. It's just very hard to pass here when you're on the same set of tires unless the guy in front of you makes a mistake.
Just a quick reminder that Sunday night NASCAR coverage on the KBueno Racing Network is brought to you by the On Target Performance Group. On Target Performance Group delivers a more accurate view of the cost of your products, services, processes, and customers within the manufacturing, retail, and logistics industries. They specialize in getting reliable and accurate cost improvement recommendations to improve your profits. You can visit their website at ontargetpg.com or contact them at 866-933-8730. On Target Performance Group, know your costs, know your profits.
And there we see the 23 did end up getting past the 27 to Gibson, and the 48 is now starting to join the battle. But look who's back in the 6th position. Randy Spivey, who's lost a couple of spots ever since he took the lead early, but he's driven his way back up steadily, and he's settled into that 6th spot, and he's not too far away behind Mark Figueroa for that 5th spot. So Randy Spivey, despite early struggles after leading, is going to hang around, stay inside the top 10, hoping to try and pick up some pieces whenever he can. But the 27 is starting to lose a little bit of ground to this 48, who did pit at least once in this race that we're aware of, and there he goes and moved the 48 up into 3rd.
Yeah, Randy Spivey, the 3rd car on fresh tires, currently in the 6th position, pitted 27 laps ago. So he has made up a lot of ground, the ground that he needs so far, as we've kind of dipped into this long green flag run. And a lot of these guys, you know, we'll mention it time and time again about those fresh tires, but it just makes such a difference that it's so exaggerated through the long runs. But currently making progress and looking to break into the top 5 pretty soon.
And of course, as we look into the timing sheets, Kofi in that number 4 has a 5.5-second lead over Chad Biesinger, just continuing to put a maul on the field in this run of the race. Of course, he pitted on one of the more recent yellows, and this is probably the strategy I would have preferred for him as this run continues to go green. It's working ideally for him, as Joshua Johnson is now 1 lap down. He was running inside the top 10 earlier in the race, so I wonder if there was an issue that happened to that 57. But right now, 1 lap down. The first car 1 lap down, but not for long, as the pace the 4 has. He may continue to put several cars a lap down. Right now, Joshua Johnson, there you see him running in the 18th position, meaning 17 cars are on the lead lap, and this is some tremendous pace from the 4 to lap all the way up to 17th in this 27 car field.
Barrett Kofi with that almost 6-second lead, about to dip into some lap traffic here, and with this 1-lane racetrack, it kind of mimics Bristol with the lap traffic that you're going to have to deal with pretty much on both lines, and you're going to have to use that kind of strategically to not lose any time to the car behind. But I don't think Barrett Kofi's worried about losing time with that fresh tires, and he just keeps expanding that lead, gained 3/10 on that last lap, so nothing to worry about there. But Chad Biesinger kind of has his work cut out of him in defending Joseph Lester in that 48 car.
Aggressive, trying to go to the inside into turns number 3. He's going to go down to the inside, and that's going to be second for that 48 and move Lester into the top 2 position, as Biesinger continues to pull away from the guys behind, as Joshua Johnson now down pit road. Maybe has an issue. I'm not sure this is scheduled. You do not want to pit under green here, as you can lose maybe 2 laps of positions there. But down pit road goes your Indianapolis race winner. And right now, a 6-second lead on the dot for Kofi over Lester.
Randy Spivey looking for that 4th position from J.C. Gibson. Made up a lot of time so far on the racetrack under this green flag run, and looking to make a pass. J.C. Gibson going to have to defend here. Almost hits the wall off the corner. That'll allow Randy Spivey to look to the bottom.
And there behind these two, you see Breidenbach in that 6, who was involved in an incident actually earlier in this race off turn number 2, but quickly recovers, and he's now fighting for a spot inside the top 5. And that just goes to show what tires mean. He maybe has a little bit of right side damage, but it doesn't seem to be slowing him down right behind that 27, trying to take that 5th position and move himself into the top 5. As you can see, with this long green flag run that we're starting to have, tires are starting to find their way up to the front of the field. But if this run goes long enough and green flag pit stops become evident soon before long, you'll see that the people who stayed out for most of this run will pit first, giving them an advantage on short pitting. But if they will get caught out if there is a yellow. So it just comes down to when the cautions come out. And of course, nobody knows when the yellows come out, which is what makes racing strategy interesting.
Yeah, I really think it is kind of a new tire versus an old tire race, with the new tires winning at the moment, but the new tires are going to be at a disadvantage when these cars with old tires come down pit road. They're going to be running fast laps for a long time, and I think the timing is really important when it comes down to this finish, but that depends on if we do get a green flag on all the way to the end.
And the lead has been shrinking these last couple laps. Kofi now only just under 3 seconds ahead of the 14 of Lester. I'm not sure if that was due to lap traffic or a mistake on his part. The car looks relatively clean, but he has lost some time to the cars behind him and is continuing to lose time. So I'm wondering, is that him pushing the car too much to get that big lead, or if it was lap traffic that it has affected him? But the lead is now 2.5 seconds between the 4 and the 14, and even Biesinger has cut the gap despite the older tires. So we'll have to see what happens in the continuing laps to see if that 4 continues to lose time or if that was just due to lap traffic. We'll have to see what the timing and scoring says this time. That's another 10th for the 14 of Lester cutting into the lead.
Yeah, I think that lap traffic is really detrimental to his lead so far, but it's kind of sticking with him as that lead is still shrinking to the 48 of Joseph Lester.
Yeah, it's a custom number 48. The timing and scoring and league has him as the number 14. But there you see more lap traffic ahead of the leaders in the coming off of turn number 2 there. Actually, between the top 2, there are 3 lap cars. The leader has lapped all the way up to 13. The last car on the lead lap, I believe, is the 60. He's running in the actually, yeah, it is the 16 of Giverson in that 12th spot, was actually battling for 11th. And several cars are also coming down pit road. So most of the top 10 is what's on the lead lap. As there you see, actually, the 27 is on pit road. So maybe we're seeing the first round of green flag pit stops between those people who haven't pit yet. He's actually exiting pit road now. So we'll have to look out for some of these guys to come down pit road and take tires.
Yeah, this is really going to flip-flop. It's really going to put the shoe on the other foot for a lot of the guys on older tires who are going up against these guys who took tires quite a bit ago. You see Jeff O'Rourke and the number 27 of J.C. Gibson. So I believe these two are going to kick off the tire game that will ensue with these guys on the old tires. But Brady Spivey takes that 3rd position away from Chad Biesinger. He could be coming around down pit road this time, and he will. He pulls to the apron, and he'll get those 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
Trying to aggressively get onto pit road. It's a lot harder to get on pit road than it looks. You see a lot of old surface down, even on the apron, and just trying to carry as much speed down. But there goes the 23 of Chad Biesinger, who was leading that group, who hadn't pitted. He comes down pit road for brand new tires. These other guys, they're able to go a lot longer. The question is, do they? Because now they're at an even larger disadvantage than those other guys were. These guys will have about 50 green flag lap newer tires than some of the guys who pitted later in the run. So a lot larger of an advantage they'll have. They'll easily gain a lot of time. And of course, if they react too late, that's maybe the position done and done for as they move up, as the laps continue to tick down, and it'll be less of an advantage. So you either have to pit with them or go long enough into the run where you have the advantage. And that might be the way they go, considering they have that ability to do so in the first place.
Chad Sander also made his way down pit road, and he came out in front of Jason Gibson and that 27 car. So a bit of timing. Chad Sander came down pit road just 2 laps earlier than him, but still got that position. But his tires are also going to wear up just a slight bit earlier. But Chad Biesinger coming out in front of all of these guys.
Great stop by him, continuing to lead the people on his strategy. But actually, we may have a battle for the lead. The 4 and the 14 are nose to tail, as we got the car on pit road. But there you see, he ran him down. Lester all over the back of Kofi for the race lead. He can't seem to make a move, as actually the 4 is blinking a little bit there. But the 48 will have a run through turn 4, and they're going to be side by side on the front straightaway. Not quite. The 48 is looking low. Can he make a move down to turn 1? Not quite. And he's going to put the pressure on that 4. He's going to move him up the racetrack, put the air, and there he goes down the inside. And that's going to be the exchange for the lead. Move the 14 of Leicester up into the race lead.
Just barely clears him in the corner, and kind of got really, really close into turn 1. Almost used the bumper to get by him. But this is the battle for what now is the old tires, as Chad Biesinger leads the way. Only he actually pitted a lot later than some of these guys, which is really going to help him. But yeah, it will wrap around him to net P1 after all the guys with old tires eventually come down pit road.
Leicester actually let the 4 go after the start-finish line. He's actually down on the apron. He has a little bit of right rear damage. I'm not sure if he acquired that while we were looking away, but he is slow on the apron, probably coming down pit road, but I'm not sure this is scheduled. He went a lot longer.
Well, he did.
A problem for the 48.
He did. He has 20 lap older tires than Barrett Kofi, who he just had for the race lead. So I think it actually is the end of his run, but he's looking really, really slow on the pit lane right now.
Yeah, he has that right rear damage, so immediately after taking the lead, he just let him go. I'm wondering what happened after. Oh my gosh, it was somebody on newer tires who ran into the back of him. But right here, this is when we exited frame. There you see he lets the 4... Here comes someone on newer tires, just clips him in the right rear. Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure if that was something that... Wow, that's shocking, honestly. He made the pass for the race lead.
Yeah, this was all fine, and then the very next lap, he lets him go, probably because he was going to pit and didn't want to
he might have ran out of fuel. You hear the engine sputtering.
Yeah.
You hear the engine sputtering on his car.
Yeah, and then right here, just has nowhere to go. He doesn't know that the 48 is out of fuel, which would explain why he was going so slow down the apron and on pit road too. So immediately after taking the lead, he runs out of fuel, very reminiscent of when Mark Truex Jr. ran out of fuel at Texas while leading.
Barrett Kofi still leads the way on the guys with old tires, but Chad Biesinger and that number 23 car has made his way all the way up to 10th. You know, all the guys from 9th on forward do have at least 50 laps on their tires since their last pit stop, so Chad will be the first one to come all the way up to the front, but Chad has the newest tires out of the people who did pit. He pitted 9 laps ago, while everyone else who took tires pitted over 10 laps ago.
It looks as though the fuel window could be 60 to 70 laps. That's what I've been noticing. I could be wrong. There's the 4 on pit road, so we may be seeing these guys who pitted rather recently on the last caution that we had come down pit road now, if he's coming down pit road. So that puts the 6 of Breidenbach in the lead. Randy Spivey now into 2nd, Matt Gaskins into 3rd. But we'll see these guys eventually come down pit road, of course. So sooner rather than later, the lead will cycle out to Chad Biesinger in the 23, who will then be at a tire disadvantage, but he will have gained a lot of time having used these tires to gain the lead. So it's going to come down to when do these guys have to make their pit stops, because we're reaching 100 laps to go, and I believe everybody's going to have to stop at least once. But for the guys who pitted about 20 laps ago, they're going to try and squeeze it in on one more stop, because maybe the ones that pitted a little bit earlier on that side of the pit cycle may have to stretch it just a tad, but definitely a one-stop bare minimum.
That's Nicholas, your leader, coming down pit road in that number 6 car. Nicholas Breidenbach will come down 63 lap run. So I think we kind of know the fuel run from now on here is, you know, 50 to 60 to 70 laps for a full tank of gas. So that means a lot of guys have at least one stop to make it to the end, and that could bring in a bit of strategy. But Randy Spivey still out front. He's one of the guys on the old tires, that number 22 car. Made a lot of progress after he kind of dipped down out of the top 5, but now finds himself in the race lead, and I would expect him to come down pit road pretty soon. Chad Biesinger breaks into the top 5 for the first time since the start of the green flag pit stops, but a gaggle of lap cars ahead of him.
Yeah, and he's going to start becoming one of those guys that is slower, actually, but maybe right now fighting with people who haven't pitted yet. But he is on the older side of tires now after most of the field has come down pit road. But nonetheless, he will take over the race lead after pit stops are fully complete because he was one of those first people to pit on that different strategy and is leading the people on that other strategy. So we'll have to see when Spivey comes down pit road, when Giberson comes down pit road, and Fink all pits. When everybody comes down pit road, this 23 will cycle out as the leader, but of course it won't be for long as they'll start running him down with the newer tires themselves.
Yeah, and that's really the flip-flop kind of strategy that, or the natural flip-flop that happens when it comes to tires. And oh my goodness, these guys diving around to try to get by the 5. That is the 5 of Dean Weeks.
This is a cluster of cars all over on the same piece of racetrack on different sets of tires, some on older, some on newer. So everybody trying to find real estate to move past one another at different rates of speed. So that's a challenge as we actually see the 10 is down pit road.
From the 5th position, that's Chris Cloud. As Chad Basinger continues to weave and dive through these lap cars. Or
He just lapped himself.
Yeah, he did. So he's looking for positions basically.
The top 3 have yet to pick, trying to go as long as possible, trying to ensure a one stop from here on out. So we know for sure this top 3 can definitely only pit once more, which will really help because of the amount of time you lose on pit road. I'm not sure tires will exactly recover 2 laps worth of pitting, but it also depends where you start that strategy from. But there you see 23 will look under this 8 to try and get by him, who he's been racing with these last couple laps. I don't think this is for position, but he will move past him regardless and move. And yes, this is not for position. Biesinger is in the 4th position. So the top 3 are the drivers that we have left who have not made a pit stop just yet.
Chad Basinger 4 seconds behind. Oh, sorry, William Fink actually just came down pit road as I was just about to mention his name. So Chad Basinger now 5 seconds behind Steve Giberson. And I believe he is also coming down pit road. So only has 1 car left in order to take back this race lead. And he is about 20 seconds behind him. That's Randy Spivey in the 1st position.
And he doesn't seem to be pitting just yet, trying to run this as long as possible. At this point, he's committed to running long. He knows he's lost a lot of time, but he is owning up to it, trying to stay out as long as possible. He may come out 1 lap down as he has about a lap ahead of Biesinger himself, but can use those new tires to at least unlap himself, and that would be the key point of the strategy. With those new tires, unlap yourself, stay on the lead lap with that tire advantage, and maybe eventually find yourself in the top 10 or top 5 as this run continues. Because once, with the different tire strategies and the different pit stops and the tire advantages and disadvantages that come and go, we're not sure who's all going to be on the lead lap as this run continues, because that's going to be ever changing.
Gap decreasing about 2-3 seconds a lap between the leader and 2nd place, but there is a 30-lap difference between Chad Biesinger's tires, or the time that the laps that he pitted to go, and Randy Spivey in that number 22 car. So it's coming soon that Randy Spivey is going to have to come down pit road, but he's longer than a lot of laps gained out front.
You know, I'm beginning to wonder if he continues to stay out here another 10 laps, is he trying to make it on 1 more stop? Everybody has to pit again. Is he trying to pit on 1 more stop? Actually, forget what I'm saying. Here he comes down pit road.
And he'll come down from the race lead, and that'll hand the race lead back to the number 23 of Chad Biesinger. He'll just have to come around the front straightaway, and he will assume your race lead. And while we're here, we're about to approach the halfway point of this race, or we already have, per se, but we're going to go through the field here, starting with the 23 of Chad Biesinger. Started 2nd, currently 1st, and is going to lead his 1st laps of the day. Class of the season so far, picked up multiple wins under his name. He leads the race so far.
On pit road is the 22 of Randy Spivey, who started 3rd and took the lead quite early. He fell back a little bit through the middle portion of the race, came down pit road, took tires, and was part of the tire crew that moved their way up through the field. Led a couple laps there during the green flag pit stop cycle. Is on pit road now to look for Randy Spivey to move his way up through the field with the freshest tires.
The 4 of Barrett Kofi, one of the first guys to take advantage of those new tires, and is currently has the cleanest tires of the top 3 so far, getting time on your leader of the 23, and actually interrupting us as a caution.
caution just as the green flag pit stop cycle completes. That is not what the 22 wanted to see, a spivvy. That did not work out for him whatsoever, and it looks as though it may involve the 9 of Jeff Carson. We'll have to get a replay to see what happened, but that is not what the 22 wanted to see. He had just come down pit road a lap earlier, so if he had known that, I'm pretty sure he would have tried to stay at that extra lap to at least stay on the lead lap. I believe that caught him out 1 lap down potentially. We'll have to make sure with timing and scoring, and it looks as though this may have happened in turn 3, so we'll try and get that to you. See there, a gaggle of cars.
Not exactly sure. Oh my goodness.
Whoa, my gosh. I wonder what that was about. You don't want to speculate what happened.
It looks like the 9. I mean, that is the path to come down pit road. Just hooked a hard right and collected. I'm trying to put a name to that driver, but I believe that was the 33. Yes, it was.
Oh my god.
Actually, that was that was actually a different driver.
Yeah. Oh, and then somebody else was involved there. But you don't want to speculate what happened here. But that was rather abrupt, that left turn that he just hooked it. I wonder what that was about. I don't think Jeff Carson was necessarily in a position to pay. I mean, you just...
That's Brian Tarnowski. That 32 car, just a victim of that one.
He was involved in an incident earlier this race, that 32, but there he was just a victim. He was running inside the top 10. So, unfortunate for him. And actually, Randy Spivey was on the lead lap, just barely, and he had just come off pit road, so the 22 can stay out and take the lead. So that worked out perfectly for him.
Couple lights coming down Trim Trowbridge. I believe your pole sitter. Yeah, that is your pole sitter. Comes down under the yellow flag, maybe to fix a lot more damage on that car. A lot of guys doing the same, especially Brian Tarnowski, who maintains a clean front end. I'm surprised by that, as it looked like that angle to the inside wall would have knocked out his radiator or did something to knock down his RPMs. But I think a lot of these guys are really, really lucky that this happened towards the end or at the end of these green flag pit stops, because if it happened during the middle, a lot of guys would have been trapped a lap down, and that would have shaken up the order a ton. So I think a lot of these guys kind of caught a break with that yellow flag coming out pretty much at the end of the green flag pit stop cycle.
Yeah, and it's better it didn't happen 23 laps later, too, when it would have restarted once again with those people who pitted about 50 laps ago. So it was really the best time for it to happen the minute that 22 pit. That meant everybody would have pitted. So everybody in the field has completed a green flag pit stop, and this caution is a break to sort of calm down, rack them up, and go at it one more time. I still think we have to pit at least once more, even if you do pit under this yellow, which is why we haven't seen many of these leaders come down pit road. It is still a one-stop race to the end. We're coming now to 87 laps to go as they cross the line, still under the caution flag. So it is a run to the finish. We still have a pit stop to go. We'll have to see if there's any cautions between now and the end of the race. We saw the longest green flag run of the race there, about 75 to 80 laps that was. And we could very well have another run to the finish.
Yeah, and all these guys, third on back, did come down pit road, so a clean slate for the guys third on back, starting with Chad Biesinger. They all pitted on this last layout, got another 4 fresh good tires. So just in front of them is Matt Gaskins in that 79 and the one of Josh Mayu, who are on those old tires. And we got a delayed green flag. We are almost going to go green there off the corner, but we got another delay. So
I wonder what the delay is for.
Yeah, the two green flag, the two guys in the 1-2 positions are on old tires, over 18 laps on those guys' tires. So that's really going to make the difference, and it might be a little bit challenging for the guys right behind them to get by, but also you have to worry about the wheel spin that might happen on old tires. We saw it on one of our restarts earlier in the run, and it can really play a factor in getting going, but it also can cause a lot more trouble, such as a wreck.
It can, especially when it's just the top two, the most crucial positions. If one of them doesn't get going, that stacks up an entire line. They're going to try and move past them, and maybe that puts even more pressure on the leader or second place driver to keep going, and in doing so it just hurts everybody else. And if they spin just a little bit and enough contact is made, or even net code, that could just completely trash an entire line, or maybe even both lines of race cars. So it's very dangerous, but of course if you have experience restarting on old tires, it's a little bit better. But obviously the key point when you do this strategy is get through the restart phase first, then worry about holding off people with those older tires. The toughest part is, of course, getting through the restart itself, because those old tires just do not want to grip up when you slam on the throttle.
All right, well, pace car is about to pull off into the pit lane. The safety of pit lane. We're about to go green flag racing on lap number 113. The 79 of Matt Gaskins leads him in front. Josh Mayhew on the second position. We're back racing.
A great start for Matthew Gaskins. He's able to go far ahead into the lead, and that's what he needed. But Josh Mayhew slow, and the 4 car is going to get into the right rear of that 59. He got very loose in turn number 1. No wreck happened, though. But that all happened with that one of Josh Mayhew entering turn 1 with those older tires. The 4 realizing the closing rate he had to him and got very sideways and ended up getting into the right rear of that 59. Fortunately for both of them, looks like minor damage, and they're still pointed in the right direction, and they're going to stay in 3rd and 4th. And Josh Mayhew is now falling through the field with those older tires. So the difference between being on old tires and leading in old tires in 2nd is look what happens when you're in 2nd, as we have a gaggle of cars back here just outside the top 10.
Guys fighting for position. You see the 74 of Trim Trowbridge making up a lot of position after fixing some damage on Pier Road. I believe that's a car on the apron. Yes, that's the 4. Struggled a little bit earlier. Up on the racetrack.
Back across the racetrack.
Collides with the 8 car and up and over into the infield. And that'll bring out another yellow, a contender for the race win, out on lap number 15. Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the incident. He just got loose on his own in turns 3 and 4, and he was slow on the apron trying to gather it back up. He was loose off 4. He had it saved, and then he was straddling the apron trying to get going, and just slows down in front of the field. I have no idea what he was doing there. And then, obviously, sitting in the middle of the racetrack with oncoming traffic is never going to be a good thing. They just run right into him, and it just sends him on his roof.
That might have been the effect of cold tires there, as these guys have been running so long on worn-out tires. Just got loose off of the corner. Tried to get it going here, but I'm not sure if wheel spin caused him to come up against the track. Did as much as he could to lock up the tires and not get in people's way, but unfortunately goes up and over on the apron.
The 32, once again, he just hasn't been able to catch a break. That's his 3rd incident tonight.
Massive hits for some of these guys.
Joshua Johnson barely missing that one. That's another close call for that 57, who hasn't had the most desirable night, but he has missed a couple of wrecks at least to keep him in this race.
We are stuck on our camera now. Whoopsies. There we go. Alright. What in the world? Excuse us, we're struggling with replay cameras right now. Excuse us, we're trying to figure out something that happened with our replay cameras. As our cameras aren't actually working at all.
Yeah, right now working through lap 119 under caution.
Excuse us for just a moment. We're actually going to restart iRacing really quick, so we'll be back with you guys in a moment, and we'll bring back more coverage of tonight's event. Moment for you guys. We'll be back shortly. Coverage of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series on the KBueno Racing Network is presented by iRacing. Join 100,000 sim racers worldwide for the most competitive sim racing service on the planet. Il Media. Message.il.media on Instagram for your graphic design purposes, and Supermix concrete blocking done right. Welcome back for
fixing this. Oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Welcome back to coverage of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. We had a bit of a short delay here, but we are back racing. Matt Gaskins assumes the race lead over Chad Biesinger on lap number 129 of 197. Still a long way to go in this race, but the racing has not stopped just yet as Chad Biesinger looking for the race lead here on lap number 130.
If you remember how Matthew Gaskins took the lead, he stayed out under that last yellow on older tires, but as you can see, he's made it work and actually has a big moment off turn number 4 as soon as I say that, and he lost a lot of time, maybe got the wall a little bit, but there he goes, Chad Biesinger into the lead, and there goes Gibson into that second spot. Now Matthew Gaskins really starting to lose spots as those older tires are starting to fall back just a little bit as we have a battle all the way through this top 5. There you see the 59 right behind and the 74 of Tim Tobridge, who did pit under that last yellow too.
All right, well, Chad Biesinger continues to lead the way and looking for yet another race win added to his resume of this season so far. J.C. Gibson currently in the second position, and looks like Matt Gaskin just kind of fell off a bit. I believe he was one of those guys who did pit a long time ago compared to these guys, and he drops out of the top 5.
A little bit of right rear damage, maybe got the wall at some point because he's really starting to fall back. We may see him actually down pit road soon enough. I'm not sure when the last time he pitted was, but of course, remember, everybody still has to pit at least one more time before the end of the race. So maybe Gaskin's trying to find himself in that window to where he can pit and not have to pit before the end of the race.
Just a second and a tenth between first and second right now. Then right behind them, it's 2 seconds. But it looks like that number 74 blows by the number 59 of Chad Sanner. And that number 974 is on a mission.
Yeah, he's been cutting his way through the field, and he's moved up to the 3rd position. Look out for that 74 to do exactly what we saw Gibson do earlier in the race, or we saw Kofi do earlier. We've seen a couple of these guys been able to move their way through the field with the newer tires, so Tim Tobridge, add him to the list of people who've been able to do that. Already moved his way up to 3rd and trying to continue to gain spots not too far off that 2nd place runner of Gibson in that 27, and of course still within striking distance of the 23 of Chad Biesinger.
As we look at the battles through the field, a lot of competitive racing going on. We see Josh Meany right now, right ahead of him, Randy Spivey, who's looking to make up a lot more position. He was competitive early on in the race, but is just struggling to break the top 5 once again. And he used that pit strategy to his advantage, got himself out front, but right now currently 7th position, looking to break into the top 5 pretty soon.
Right there, battling with Nicholas Breidenbach. Behind those two, Josh Mayo, who's on the same strategy as Matthew Gaskins, as right there. Josh Mayo fell off very early on the restart, but he seems to have able to hold on in this position more or less. And Gaskins, of course, as we've seen, has been following these last couple of laps. So these two are on very similar strategies, and of course they find themselves on the same piece of racetrack as there's Randy Spivey now going past the Matthew Gaskins machine, as there's Breidenbach now, the next person to try and take advantage of that driver on old tires. So we'll have to see how this run continues and when these guys decide to pit, because it's still early in the run, but we never know when they'll decide to pull the trigger and come down pit road, or if the caution will make them come down pit road then.
Yeah, and once again, this race could come down to fuel strategy depending on how long ago these guys pit, but we've seen the fuel run last about 60 to 70, maybe 75 laps, and we just passed that point in the run where if you pit 10 or 15 laps ago, you're going to be able to make it to the end. So now's the time that people are going to start to dip into one-stop strategies, or maybe save their fuel and make it all the way to the end. That's really the difference of strategy that could win or cost you this race.
It really will come down to when these people decide to pit and when the caution comes out, because let's assume there is no caution between now and the end of the race. When you put your tires on is going to matter, and the earlier you put them on, the more likely you are to win. We saw Biesinger have a 10-second lead before that yellow came out, and that's having pit maybe 20 laps before everybody did, and he wasn't getting necessarily ran down the same way they were doing, as actually Tobridge gets the wall there after getting into second place. So a mistake out of that 74, having a good tire situation right now, may lose that second spot right back to Gibson. So a bit of a mistake there from the 74 may end up costing him.
It did indeed. Looking for the high side, kind of a line we haven't seen throughout the race, but continues to lose a bit of time And JC Gibson does move himself into the second position. One of the guys who we've seen have an up and down day, but started in the 15th position, certainly has made his mark here today, and being one of the guys who rushed up to the front.
Yeah, he quickly made his way up to the front, and he has been one of the top 5 drivers of tonight's race, quickly approaching 50 laps to go, so this is go time. Chad Biesinger is pulling away, though, and he has made his mark here today. We saw early in the race, in the first half of the race, he really struggled on the short run, but as soon as we got that long run, he made his name known as one of the dominant cars here tonight, has led the most laps, and he's continuing to do so, hoping to seal this race with another victory on the season. And of course, I believe he is a playoff driver, so that would definitely help his situation as far as the playoffs are concerned.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at JC Gibson and just trying to see if he can make up the time that's needed in order to take back the race lead and possibly take a win here today. Right now he is in that 3.5 second mark. And oh, we got a blown engine right in front of him.
There it goes down to the bottom. No caution just yet, and he's off the racetrack, so iRacing will most likely not throw the caution out for that car on the apron, but we saw that just barely into frame. One of those lap cars blow up. So he is off the racetrack, away from harm's way, and we will stay green with 52 laps to go.
Yeah, like you said, approaching just 50 laps to go on the racetrack and kind of shuffling through the field. A lot of guys starting to get settled in on the racetrack and kind of preparing for this long green flag run that will ensue. But it's looking really, really good for that 2023 of Chad Biesinger, currently out front, logging more laps in his laps-led book, and looking to take home another win today. But again, still a long way to go. We're about to pull through at the 50-lap mark to go.
You know, the last time we tried this, we had a caution come out on us, so let's try and have a proper, as their lap car gets into the wall there, let's try and have a proper through the field this time, and hopefully the caution does not interrupt us, Charlie.
All right, yeah, through the field, Chad Biesinger, that number 23 car, once again, the class of the field so far, leading so many laps. Started second, and is currently first on the boards right now. Ran a fast lap. I believe that's one of the fastest of the race, but Chad Biesinger looking to cruise through his second win in the round of 8, and continue his run for a championship.
Moving on down the second right now is Tim Tobridge, who actually didn't appear at second on the timing and scoring sheets, but he is actually in third place right now. We saw him gun into second position earlier, but got the wall, and he has moved down into that third position. Was on newer tires, so unfortunately for him, he did get up to second, but a mistake ended up costing him, and he's now running in that third spot.
JC Gibson started 15th all the way up to the second position, took the lead a bit earlier, and starting to close just little by little on the leader. Right now, JC Gibson, one of the cars that has proven himself throughout the race to be a contender for the race lead, and looking to close it out with a strong top 3 performance here. JC Gibson second right now.
Moving on down to fourth position, there you see Chad Stainer in the fourth position. Our timing and scoring is a little bit off by 1 position, but nonetheless, we're able to deliver this to you. Chad Stainer has been generally up front for most of this race. We saw him lead a couple laps earlier. He's been in the top 5, top 10 for most of this race. As you see, Spivey have a moment behind him, but Chad Stainer has had a solid run tonight, and if he's able to come away with a top 5, that would be about proper for where he's been for most of his night. So keep an eye out for this 59, as he did show some signs of battling for the lead. So if we get a caution late, this 59 could maybe try and make a move.
An up and down day for the 22 of Rainey Spivey, currently sitting in the 4th position, or in the 5th position, 2 spots behind where he started. So he was one of the guys who was able to take advantage of that tire strategy, get himself up front, and be a contender for the race lead, but has kind of had an up and down day, but is looking to finish strong with a 5th place finish as we approach under the 40 lap to go mark.
Down in 6th is the 6 of Nicholas Breidenbach, running where his car number is. He's been kind of quiet here tonight. We haven't really talked about him all too much, but nonetheless, he has pulled through, and he's moving his way up through the field, running in 6th right now after starting, as you see, 25th. So he has moved his way delicately up the field, had a quiet night, and he's trying to have himself a solid finish here tonight at Rockingham, right now battling that one of Josh Mayhew.
Josh Mayhew, like you said, battling him for that 6th place position. Another quiet night for him, but looking to finish strong once again. Started all the way back in 23rd and has gained over 15, 16 spots to the position he is right now. So currently hanging on and hoping to finish strong. Francisco? Alrighty, well, Matt Gaskins in that number 79 car got up front on that last restart and was able to lead a few laps before he got passed by the number 23 of Chad Biesinger. Currently sitting in the 7th position right now. Actually, a car just went down pit road. That is Tim Trowbridge. And yeah, the last car on the lead lap is the 10 of Chris Cloud, hanging on to that lead lap position, and will get lapped, or is actually quite a ways ahead of the leader of Chad Biesinger. Once again, trying to hang on to that spot, but looks like a lot of guys are going to start to come down pit road. Randy Spivey as well. So maybe this could be the start of another pit cycle with a lot of guys with their tires starting to age a little bit. Maybe they're trying to split this run in half to try to make it to the end. Chad Biesinger still out front. You see Tim Trowbridge, who just came out of the pit lane, got those 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and he could possibly make a run all the way up and pass a few people by his short pitting strategy. And, you know, short pitting is really, really important, you know, in really any forms of racing, whether that be road or whether it be oval, is coming down pit road just a little bit earlier, getting those fresh 4 Goodyear tires and making up a lot of time while you're on those fresh tires. But when they start to wear out, you know, the car that you short pitted around takes those fresh tires, and now the shoe's on the other foot. So I think that's really the position that the number 74 is going to be in, coming into the closing stages of this race. And I'm really interested to see how it works out with the leader of Chad Biesinger. Shuffling through the field, there's only 5 cars, or 6 cars that are on the lead lap, ending with Chris Cloud just 23 seconds behind your race leader right now. As Francisco has just exited the booth, so it's just me now for the rest of the race. But we do have about 36 laps to go. About 14 minutes of racing, according to my telemetry, left to go in this race for Chad Biesinger, who's out front, so as to make a pit stop left. But you see right here, that's Randy Spivey in the number 22 car looking to make another lap, and that really shows you the difference between short pitting and getting those fresh tires as comparison to being on those old tires. So, you know, we're going to see that throughout the rest of this run, and quite frankly, throughout the rest of this race. Getting his lap back. Now he is 1 lap down as he just passed the leader, that is Chad Biesinger. He is making up a lot of time on those fresh tires. And I believe that he will cycle around to P1, the first position, when Chad Biesinger comes down the pit lane. And, you know, I mentioned it before. He'll get those fresh tires and start running faster laps than Spivey, and you know, it's really the flip-flop that happens. But as you see the 23 down pit road, he's going to get those 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a full tank of fuel, and he'll be good to the end of this race. Your race leader down pit road, handing the lead to Chad Sander. Or sorry, JC Gibson. Apologies, but he will cycle out to the race lead. Chad Sander right behind, and Josh Mayu in the 3rd position. It looks like Chad Sander just got passed by Josh Mayu. A lot of these guys are on very, very old tires, and maybe Chad Sander is looking to come down pit road, or maybe not. Glides up the racetrack. Thought he was going to hit the apron there and maybe come down for his pit stop. Chad Biesinger getting his service in with Matt Gaskins not too far behind on the pit lane. I'm interested to see where he's going to cycle out because Randy Spivey is coming ahead. And diving into turn number 1. It looks like he'll get by him for the race lead. Down the back straightaway, you see him with Trim Brobridge just ahead. That's actually the first car on the racetrack with those fresh tires. He is 4th in the 4th position so far. And looking to cycle around to net P1, still 3 cars ahead of him position-wise that need to come down pit road still, and that he will possibly pass Chris Cloud, and that 10 car will come down pit road for his 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a full tank of Sunoco fuel. As Trim Trowbridge will cycle around, I believe he will pass him and have a bit of a lead when he does. So still 2 more cars for Trim Trowbridge to pass. A lot of the guys settling in so far, but you see the 22. These guys just 1 lap separated on their tires, and they are the cars who are the first cars on those fresh tires. Josh Mayu now coming down pit road, but this could be the pass for the lead. Loose off of the corner goes to 74, and the lead will go to the 22 of Randy Spivey. Looking to cycle on for the race lead. Where is Chad Biesinger? He's right there, loose off of the corner. Not going to be good for his run so far, and he hooks it into the wall. The yellow flag is out on lap number 170. And that is not good for his run. But that also saved, I believe, Johnny Gibson, who's in the lead right now. We will get a replay of what happened here. Led most of the race tonight, and his run comes up in flames. I believe this was a lap before the incident happened. Looks like I'm not sure what happened. I don't believe that was contact. There were no cars behind him. And just tried to save that race car and overcorrected into the outside wall. Collected another car behind him. Wow. The dominant car who was looking to come home with a win tonight has an exit on lap number 171. About 20 laps to a victory. Or 30. Some guys coming down pit road for their first, or for 2, maybe get a fresh set of Goodyear tires, but also to make it to the end. That's J.C. Gibson, that 27 car, and Chad Sander as well. And Randy Spivey. Actually, my telemetry is kind of jumbled up right now, but Randy Spivey looking to shuffle back out to the race lead. And this race has almost fell into his hands with Chad Biesinger's exit. Under caution for yet another time, but this restart's going to be a bit different for these guys because it is go time. It's time to race for a win. It's time to be as aggressive as you can, and it's time to make the moves that will put you in a position to win this race. And a couple of the guys moving themselves down pit road, but while we're under caution, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be back to you coverage live on the KBueno Racing Network of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. Welcome back to coverage of the Sunday night NASCAR and the Davis Brothers Roofing Cup Series live on the KBueno Racing Network. We're about to take the green flag with 20 laps to go, with the field led by J.C. Gibson in that number 27 car. With the exit of Chad Biesinger, the race has fell into the hands of a lot of other people, including the guys in the top two. Green flag is underway. 22 laps to go in this race. And with a good jump off of turn number 2, J.C. Gibson with a couple second lead. And in turn number 3, all J.C. needs to do for these next 20 laps is just keep it clean, keep the tires fresh, and be able to make it all the way to the end. But a lot of the guys behind him has a lot fresher tires than he do. So that's really going to make a difference as we come in to these next 20 laps and supposedly dwindling it down to a race winner. Tim Trowbridge looking to make us move. And the gap between the lead, throughout this race and throughout, this run so far, it's been fluctuating quite a bit. And these guys have been searching a lot for the correct lines and the correct runs that they need to be getting. But Tim Trowbridge will take the second position away from the number 59 of Chad Sanders. So now Tim Trowbridge has a clean racetrack ahead of him, and the only thing obstructing it is that number 27 of J.C. Gibson. And he has closed that gap almost to a bumper. And will he make the move down into turn number 1? This could be the battle for the race lead, and it indeed is. And your new race leader with 17 laps to go in this race is Tim Trowbridge. He's put himself in a position to win, fighting all race long, been up front, been in the back, and all over the place, but he has now put himself in a position to win this Rockingham race, and he's fought all the way for it. With ahead, it seems so far, almost half of a straightaway lead to that second position. Tim Trowbridge once again has put himself in a position that this race has fallen into his hands with the exit of Chad Biesinger. The class of the race and the class of the season so far has put this race in Tim Trowbridge's hands. And speaking of Chad and his run throughout the round of 8, he won already, so it's not like he really needs to worry about his position in the playoff picture right now. So he is secured into the next round, and a lot of guys like Tim and Chad Sanders, J.C. Gibson, Randy Spivey, they're looking for wins, but this win really has almost fallen into the hands of Tim Trowbridge as he's going to approach just 10 laps to go in this race. And of course, to my surprise, our telemetry was actually off. Apologies for the missed calls so far. We've been struggling all day trying to figure out our telemetry, but JC Gibson is actually your race leader, a second and a half over Chad Sanner in that 50 vine. So once again, apologies for that, but Kenneth and I have been working really diligently to try to provide this. But just under 10 laps to go, JC Gibson has put himself in a position to win this race. An up and down day for him, started in the 15th position and has made his way all the way up to the first position, looking for a win with the exit of Chad Basinger. And as I mentioned earlier, Tim Trowbridge is actually in the 4th position, the first car on the lead lap. So I just want to clear that up with you guys. It's my apologies, but we do have 8 laps to go in this run with JC Gibson in a perfect position to take a win today. This historic 1 mile racetrack has proved himself multiple times today that it is a struggle with the abrasive track surface and being able to find that line in the corner and maintaining that throttle control off of the corner in order to prevent the spinning tires and all that. We've seen pretty much nearly every single yellow so far this race has been caused out of turn number 2, and it's been a tough one for sure, and it's really bit a lot of these guys in the behind that are struggling for it. But now only 4 cars on the lead lap, and that being JC Gibson in that number 27 car, Chad Sanner in the 59, Randy Spivey in the 22 in 3rd position, and Tim Trowbridge, who got his lap back recently on the restart. But we are at the 5 lap to go mark for JC Gibson. That number 10 Titans car, I believe that is an NFL team. Actually, I have to confirm that, but in position to take the win here with just 4 laps to go. It's been an up and down day for, like I mentioned, for a lot of the guys in the field today. Some of the guys, including that number 22 of Randy Spivey, been a very, very up and down day for him, but once again ends in an up as he just has 3 laps to bring home a top 3 finish. Some of the guys in the back, including that number 32 of Brian Tarnowski, got caught up, was the victim in at least 2 wrecks now. And one of the guys who made a statement throughout this entire race so far, Chad Basinger, with an early exit from the race lead. But it's only the 27 out front. You see he comes off of turn number 4. He'll take the white flag, 1 lap to go at Rockingham Speedway. In an up and down race that saw him in the back, in the front, midfield, all over the place, including that pit strategy, and has put himself in a very, very good position by the end of it to come out of turn number 4. And that number 27 car, first to do it. Checkered flag in the air. The race win at Rockingham goes to the 27 of JC Gibson. Chad Sanner comes home in the 2nd position, and that number 59 car, Randy Spivey, and that number 22, and Tim Trowbridge comes home 4th. That'll be your top 4, the only cars on the lead lap. And JC Gibson will come out of turn 4 and celebrate his victory. As JC Gibson burns it down on the front straightaway, we'll give you your finishing results of today's race at Rockingham. Coming home as your winner today, that number 27 from Florida, and the number 59 of Chad Sander, coming home in the second position, just 1.136 seconds behind. Third position goes to the 22 of Randy Spivey. Fourth position goes to the 74 of Tim Trowbridge. And rounding out your top 5, the first car one lap down, the 6 of Nicholas Breidenbach. Sixth position goes to the 79 of Matt Gaskins. Seventh position goes to the 1 of Josh Mayu. Eighth position goes to the 93 of William Fink. Steve Giverson coming home in 9th, and Mike Contino will come home in the 10th position. Right outside your top 10, Ed Hauk and that number 33 comes home 11th. Steve Dardaris 12th. Jeff O'Rourke 13th position. Matt Tarnowski, one of the unlucky cars today's race, finishes 14th. The 15th position goes to Chris Cloud. 16th goes to Mark Figueroa in the number 88 car. 17th position goes to T.W. Garrett. And the 18th position from the race lead overcorrected into the wall. An unfortunate end to him. He comes home 18th, 28 laps down. 19th position goes to Joshua Johnson at the number 57 car. Dean Weeks in that 5 finishes in the 20th position. That'll round out your top 20. The number 4 of Bear Coffee finishes in the 24th position. Jeff Carson finishes 22nd. Kevin O'Rourke finishes 23rd. Joseph Lesser 24th. Lauren Jones 25th. Dalton Mobley in the 26th position. And rounding out your field is Charles Eaton. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we'll come back to your interviews with your top 3 finishers in tonight's Sunday night NASCAR Cup Series. We'll be back shortly with interviews. Coverage of tonight's event of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series is presented by iRacing. Join thousands of sim racers worldwide on the most competitive sim racing network on the planet. Media, message il.media on Instagram for your graphic design, paint scheme, and graphic design purposes. And Supermix, concrete blocking done right. Well, an abrasive race for sure ends in a win by J.C. Gibson in that number 27 car. Looking for guys in the interview booth and currently not seeing any, so I guess we'll just fill it in. It's been an abrasive race for sure. Pit strategy has been prevalent throughout the entirety of the run tonight, and it's just been a lot for these guys to handle, and the short pitting has been very, very big, and especially with the early exit of Chad Biesinger. But right now I do not see any guys in the waiting room booth, so I guess we'll just wait for a little bit.